Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. I'm your host, Stephen Peininger, but this is actually a special episode of Mormon Media Reviews, because when you see Rebecca Biblioteca in the house, it's usually MMR. How you doing today?
I am great, Steve. How are you?
Oh, couldn't be happier, man. This is awesome. I'm so excited about our guest that we're going to have on today. He literally is huge. He is a mega celebrity on YouTube, a man who went from a few hundred subscribers to closing in on 500,000 almost overnight. What an amazing story. The name of the channel is Grandpa Reads the Comics. And here's Grandpa Craig Hansen. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, it's nice to be with you guys. Hi, friends.
So look behind him right there, folks. That is a plaque that he got from YouTube. And you get that plaque, that silver plaque, when you get 100,000 subscribers. And that must have been really amazing. You said you were basically one day you just like realized, wait, we just picked up 100,000 subscribers. You had no idea. That must have just been mind-boggling to have that happen to you, sir.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. I mean, we're just small town people, you know.
Well, Rebecca, what I'd like to do is I think there's an influencer, an Instagram influencer who actually discovered Craig. Now, this is what we're going to do, folks. I'm going to play the videos, kind of an intro, but then we're going to talk about the channel. But before we do that, we actually want Craig to tell a little bit about his story. So I think it's, people need to get to know him and know who is Grandpa Reads the Comics. So before we do that, let's pop this on. And here we go. This is the video that kind of started the whole thing.
You deserve the best. You are worthy. We love you!
And that little clip goes viral and you go viral. That's a beautiful story, sir.
Another guy took that same clip, and I'm not sure what language he was, whether he was German or Turkish or something. He's Neon Man on YouTube, but he made a short out of it, and he has 610,000 views on the short that he made from that.
Wow, that is an amazing story. I love these kind of stories. I love talking to people that, nobody knows who they are. And the next thing you know, they become famous. And it's a remarkable story. But before you became famous, you were a good old farm boy who milked cows back in the day.
Yeah.
And you grew up in rural Utah, and you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I thought it was important that you come on and talk about your background and your faith. So, and then we're going to talk about your channel. So, Greg, why don't you start us off? Let's tell us a little bit about Greg, where he's from, and a little bit about your background.
So I was born in Ogden, Utah, which is in Weber County. I had two sisters and three brothers. We lived on a farm, and I started milking cows before I was 8 years old. We sold the farm, and then when I was 12 or 13, I started milking cows on a neighbor's farm. So I rode a bike over there, started milking cows, and then I graduated from high school. I went on a church mission to Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I came back and I went to school at BYU. One of my missionary friends said, if you want to meet a lot of cute girls, take social dance, which is what I did. And I did meet a cute girl, and we were married. And we moved to Syracuse and started raising our family. We had 6 children, my wife was called to be in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, which was she was very musical and had always dreamt about her mother had been in the Tabernacle Choir. And so she was engaged. They would practice on Thursday and then have a performance on Sunday. They would practice before the performance. So one day in January, winter, she was driving to Salt Lake City, Temple Square, and she was involved in a single car accident in which she died. And luckily, I only had 6 kids. And
and what year was this?
That was in 1990 or 1991, one of those two.
And you had 6 kids.
Yeah. So then I knew that my most important job was to find somebody that would love me and all my kids. So I dated like 25 women that year. And you know how if you trust in the Lord, he delivers. And so someone that was actually in our congregation invited me. She asked me out on the first date, and we eventually got married, and then we a couple of years later had our son Dylan to make this 7 kids. That's what we ended up with. Wow. So fast forward a few years, some of our children, most of our children got married, and some of them settled in Syracuse. And in 2020, we were meeting on Sunday nights for dessert. We didn't meet for dinner because dinner is a major task. But my wife Liz would make dessert, and we'd meet, talk a little bit about how our lives were going, and we'd have dessert. But at the end, I'd get out the Sunday comics and I would read them to my grandchildren, because my dad had read the comics to me. I had read them to my kids. So I wanted to keep the tradition going by reading it to my grandkids. Then COVID came and we weren't meeting as a family. So somebody said you should start a YouTube channel and read the comics to your grandchildren on YouTube. I said, wow, what a great idea. So I started, on YouTube, you can project an image of the comic on the back wall. So I could have the image on the wall and I would read along with the comic, and I would, put my inflection and my interpretation and all those things into that. And I recorded around 400 episodes. And hardly anybody was looking at them. Even my own grandchildren weren't looking at them for the most part. And then somebody said, if you want action, you've got to go to TikTok. So I said, oh, okay. So I just stopped on YouTube, went to TikTok, and man, you could post something on there, and within 5 or 10 minutes, you had 50, 100, 1,000 views, and people were actually commenting, which was way different from the YouTube experience I'd had. Huh. And so we started doing that, had about 10,000 followers. I had to follow 10,000 other people before they'd follow me. But I was getting a little bit discouraged because it didn't seem like we had traction. We just weren't going anywhere. And then my wife said she was thinking about starting her own TikTok channel. And I said, oh, before you do that, why don't you record some things on my channel? So she started Grandma's Cookie Jar. And she would bring a cookie jar on, and then she would open the cookie jar and have different things she would share with the audience. And then she had decent followings. And then one day we read one of the comments, and it was from Cole Catano from Carve TV, and it said, "You guys need to go check your YouTube channel." Thought, what's he talking about? So the next time we did it, he said again, "You need to go check your YouTube channel." So my wife went onto YouTube and saw one of our things that we did a long time ago, and halfway through it, a commercial came on, an advertisement came on, and she said, "What? Advertising is coming up in the middle of one of our YouTube videos?" And then we checked to see how many followers we had. And I think the first time she checked, there were 1,300 subscribers. And then the next day there were 25,000 subscribers. And then the next day there was over 100,000 subscribers. That's what happened. And
wow.
So,
Jeez. I feel like Steve, he has it figured out way better than we do. Those of us that podcast and have YouTube channels, he's even figured out TikTok. I'm still struggling to figure that. I have to say, Craig, you have got it going on. This is amazing.
You can show us kids a thing or two.
I think so. We might have to learn from you.
Well, I just have
amazing.
to ask, just to go, I can't, how unfathomable it would be to go from a few hundred subscribers to kind of maybe even feeling, like you said, a little discouraged. You're putting out you're an effort trying to do this stuff, and you kind of gave up on the YouTube channel and you focus more on TikTok. And the next thing you know, your channel explodes. What was that like to have your inbox just full and then all these comments? And I mean, it must have just changed your world, going right upside down.
yeah, really, it did. It really did.
And what was it like, just having going through that whirlwind?
Well, so Cole said, "We need to go onto YouTube and make a video acknowledging that we're still alive," because there were some rumors going out that Grandpa had died, and there were some Reddit people that were saying that I had died. So he said,
you're famous when people start saying that you died. That means you're really famous, like Samuel Clemens, right? The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. You've arrived when there are rumors of your death. So that's good.
So we published, I think Grandma had made that cookie jar, and I think we did something like that she did a cookie jar thing, and when she opened the cookie jar, she pulled Grandpa, she made a little sculpture of Grandpa reading the comics, and she pulled that out and said, "Here's Grandpa." And then she says, "Oh, wrong Grandpa." And then she brought me onto the screen, and then I said, "I'm very alive, and we're overwhelmed, and we're thankful for all you new followers." And Grandma said, "And all the old followers too." And so then after that, we started responding to our comments, which was, do you know what fan mail is? It's, in the olden days, they would put a letter in the mailbox, and then you would get bags of fan mail, but the comments are like fan mail.
Yep.
So we responded to every comment. It took about a couple of weeks to work, because on the last episode we did 2 years ago, it was Dennis the Menace, and that had 273,000 views and about 30,000 comments on that one. So we had to work through that. And now we just release content enough that we can keep up with the comments. So
interesting.
So like the first week when we were discovered, I had I recycled about 34 of my old comic videos. I did 34 in one day. And then, I mean, then people started responding. That was the wrong thing to do. But then we realized or got coached up that we just need to just do one at a time. So if somebody comes on, they'll see something that's fresh. And so that's been a pretty good philosophy.
How
So
many?
how often then do you release something? Is it once a day, once a week, or what's
I made a pledge, like the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledged to my followers that I would do something once a day.
perfect?
So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're this has become your full-time gig now, which is right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And of course, I saw on one of your videos that you had recently, your grandma had one of your granddaughters on. So it looks like you're
Oh,
also bringing in family and friends onto the program as well. So maybe just talk about integrating your friends and family. I see you do some videos with them as well.
yeah. So we had a family reunion. Um, the end of May, we had most of our family was here. Just one of our families in Texas were on a graduation party with their son. So we spent 3 days together at a Airbnb in Layton. So we were together morning, noon, and night. We did about around seven or eight or nine different activities with all of our family, and we didn't pay admission on anything. No admissions. We went to the state capitol and to the Daughters of the Utah Pioneer Museum, where my great grandfather brought a 6,000-pound piano across the plains. When he got to Wyoming and saw the mountains, he said, "We're not ready for this." So they went down 12 or 18 inches. They took the legs off of the piano, and they kind of went down a foot or so, and then they put 4 buffalo skins over the piano to protect it. And then a year later, they went and picked it up, and they were prepared to go through the mountains that they didn't think they were prepared. Anyhow, we went to the DUP museum in Salt Lake. We went to the Welfare Square, where the have you been there, Steve?
No, I actually haven't been to Welfare Square. Why don't you
Oh,
tell the
you're
audience what it
kidding.
is? No, I
I've
have.
been there. Yeah, it's really cool.
So the granary that was built there, it was built like 1935, 1937, and they used the continuous pour method. That means that there are no seams in it. They just built the forms up, and they would just pour the cement. And by the time they got around to where they had started, like a day or two later, and Sunday came, and they said, "President Grant, we don't work on Sunday. What are we going to do on this?" He said, "Keep working." So there are no seams. There are no seams in that. There's no weaknesses in the structure. And we went on a hike. We watched a movie, and we just did a bunch of things and had fun. We had a talent show, and I took some of the episodes from the talent show and posted those. So we are trying to involve other people. You know, I drove a school van for the Utah School for the Deaf and Blind. I had a couple of little 7-year-olds that were hearing impaired. And one of the last days I was driving, I was listening to the radio, and the song "A Million Dreams" from The Greatest Showman came on. And I had a little girl on there that had probably watched it 20 or 30 times and had all the songs memorized. And she just started singing, you know, "Every night I lay in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams were keeping me awake." She was singing that. And so I said, "I've got to do that." So my wife got some, like, a bow tie and a top hat. Well, I already have the top hat, but we did a Greatest Showman, and then when we published that, we got a copyright claim from the
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah,
sharing
that happens.
revenue with those guys. Anyhow, we are trying to involve people when we can.
That's great. And then it's actually must be great for the family too, just to make this into like a family project. Like, and like I told Rebecca, never pass up the opportunity to make content. And that's a very smart move on your part, that you can integrate your regular daily life into the program and use the kids, use the grandkids, whatever, just to help.
Oh yeah.
And it builds a bond with your audience when you do that as well.
Oh yeah, and a dog. We have a dog, lady, and it's amazing how many people that follow us love dogs.
Oh,
They love dogs. They love grandpas. They have memories of their grandpa. Some didn't ever know their grandpa. I did one. It's called Grandpa's Matter. I had it on TikTok, and then I made a short out of it for YouTube. And I just said, no matter how tall you grow to be, you can always look up to your grandpa. And I don't know if you love him, but I know that he loves you. And then I welcomed them to give their comments about their grandpas. Wow. It was like, you can't measure something by the number of people, but you judge it by what it caused them to do. I had people that wrote paragraphs about their grandfathers, but many didn't ever know their grandfathers. Of course, they want us to adopt them, which we're happy to.
I'm sure you're getting that request all the time. And I would think that probably your channel and watching it forms bonds or renews bonds between actual people and their actual grandparents. Have you heard any stories about that? Because I'm guessing someone would watch you and go, you know what? I haven't talked to my grandpa for a while. That's what I think of. I mean, obviously my grandpa has passed away, but that's what I think of. Have you heard stories of renewed bonds between people just because of you? That's wonderful.
Yeah. Not just on grandpas, but other things like, one of the things I talk about often is not giving up on your dreams. And I've had a lot of people say, I was ready. I didn't have anything to live for. I've re-evaluated my life, and you've given me confidence. It's amazing.
Wow.
Really.
That's remarkable, and I've had similar experiences with my channel too, whether I be making appearance on other podcasts or people reach out to me. I hear from people all the time, and it really, and I honestly, I can't respond to every single comment on my videos. I'll at least try to give them a heart button, like, hey, say, hey, I love you, or, heart button, just so they know that I've read it. Cause I do read all my comments. Now I don't always get a notification for every comment that I get either. So sometimes I miss comments, but I don't know how you're able to do that. That's pretty remarkable. But then, like you said, the long paragraph ones, right? Where people like just bare themselves and tell their story and just sometimes can be quite raw. And you just recognize the privileged place that you actually are at to basically just turn on the camera and start talking, and you have no idea how that's going to affect other people's lives. And it must be so amazing to you that, man, that did it for them, or that's something I said really encouraged them. It must really be just give you warm fuzzies all the time to be able to realize that you're helping people.
Yeah. The thing I think is the key in that is there's a certain level of trust, like I can trust my feelings. I can reveal myself to you because you seem like a trustworthy guy. What are you going to do with the information? But so that's something that can't be overlooked. Like when people respond to yours, they feel like they can trust you with their feelings and with their background and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm curious. When you talk about your content, do you wake up every morning already having something in mind, or just does it come to you while you're having breakfast? Or tell us about your process a little bit, because you have as we talked about before, a variety of kinds of content, which is, I think, what appeals to everybody. You log on and say, what's Grandpa going to be doing today? It's going to be something wonderful.
Well, yeah, doesn't everybody have a notebook in their pocket, and when they maybe when they start the day, they say, what should I be doing today? I mean, I guess everybody doesn't do that, but a lot of people do. So I usually have a notebook, and if I have an idea, I write it down. So it's kind of in the upcoming, we're going to do, or we get a suggestion from a follower. Why don't you do this? Why don't you play the banjo more? Why don't you and Grandma dance more? So I do have 20 or 30 ideas that are there. And yeah. So
That's great.
I feel like I have a responsibility to deliver to the followers. They've trusted their valuable time to us, and so we have a responsibility to be aware of that.
Do you get recognized now wherever you go?
No.
No, I'm surprised.
Thankfully, I don't.
Mobs of people asking for your autograph. It's not happening yet, but I guarantee it probably will. Don't you think, Steve?
I think so. Yeah.
If I went to Turkey, I think it would.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a large fan base in Turkey. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is so interesting. Are you still in contact with the person that, quote, discovered you? Do you still have a friendship with?
Oh yeah. I saw somebody interview him on their podcast on YouTube, and I contacted him and said, can I get you on YouTube? And he said, yeah. So we did an episode on Monday, but something happened to the sound, and his voice didn't get recorded. So, I interviewed him and asked him, how does he have such a big heart to reach out to people? And then he interviewed me, and he's gonna put it together, and I was gonna post it, but we have to do that. He just barely graduated from high school last week.
Oh, he's just a kid.
Oh, he's a kid. That explains all the followers. The kids get all the followers.
Yeah.
That's
He's
crazy.
a giant of a kid.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Wow. This whole story is it's almost like you can't make this up. You know what I mean? It's just a wonderful, beautiful, surprising, amazing story. Just incredible.
Yeah. So we believe that for whatever reason, these people have been delivered to us, like in this nice little tidy bundle. Here they are. Do with them what you want. And so we kind of feel like, well, it's out of our hands. This landed in our basket, and so there is some divine intervention somehow, somewhere. And so I think if I opened up the phone book and started reading it on one of my videos, I'd probably get some comments like, I've never heard the phone book read like that before, Does that make
I believe
sense?
that. No, I believe it, because it's just you. You're so personable and so likable and so genuine and friendly. I think you're right. I think you can do no wrong, which is wonderful. It's all you. And I love your perspective that you feel responsible and blessed, that all these people have come into your path, and now what can you do to help them? Because you're right. Not everybody has that opportunity to have a lot of people that they can impact every day. So I love your perspective. That's just beautiful. So I know you'll be successful because of that perspective. That's wonderful.
And people say, often they'll say, man, I needed that advice today. I didn't need it yesterday. I'm not going to need it next week. How did you know I needed it today? I just said, I didn't know you needed it today, but somebody did. And they've said, like, I wish I had a place where I could write all these things down, where I could write the good things down. I'm thinking, that sounds like a merchandising idea.
Sounds like a
Grandpa,
book deal. A book deal.
grandpa,
Yep.
grandpa reads the comics journal or something
Yep.
where
Oh.
they can, on this day I saw this where grandpa said, don't don't ever give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up on your dreams. And
Yeah.
they write it down.
And they write it down. I love see, you are again, you're merchandising and TikTok. Steve, he may be way ahead of the game of the rest of us.
I am way ahead of the game. I'm 72 years old. You guys are just kids.
Not that far behind, but no, that's wonderful. So you have to tell us, what are some of your favorite comics? What do you like to read?
The absolute best is Pickles
Oh, you like Pickles.
by
Okay, that's
Brian
great.
Crane. He went to
Yep.
BYU.
Yes.
We weren't there at the same time. I think he graduated in 1974 and I graduated in 1977. And so I've kind of adopted his persona, and me and Earl Pickles are so much alike, just in our regular life. And so, yeah, Pickles by a mile.
That's great.
Yeah.
When I just for you kids out there, we had these every Sunday. You'd get the colored comics in the newspaper, and that was such a big deal. Everybody read the comics. The comics have been played such a major role in the history of our country since like the 19th century, and it's kind of sad to kind of see it dying out as newspapers are dying out. And
Yep.
I think it's really cool that you're kind of introducing young people to comics.
Yeah. It is. There are so many different things that we do that seem like they strike a chord in our audience, our followers. And it's not just one thing, but it's the variety of things. Like I remember when we had a dog, or I remember when we went on a family reunion, or I remember something. So yeah, it's a unique experience and opportunity for us.
So you put out so much content. Do you shoot most of your stuff in one take? Or do you have to do multiple takes? I can't imagine
It depends if grandma's involved. Because she wants a perfect thing,
Yeah, I get that.
And I don't. I think a lot of people have said, we like how it doesn't. You look like you don't know what you're doing, or you start and stop the video, and sometimes you say, oh, the day that we had the unboxing of the play button, we went live on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And we were on for, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 minutes, and we were ready to end. And so I looked at the screen and I thought it said EXIT. So I pushed that button, but the button really said EDIT, edit. I was pushing the edit button when I thought I was pushing the exit button. So I pushed that button and I said, pizza, because we had bought pizza for our friends and family that came over there. We were going to have pizza as soon as the thing was over. And so I thought it was over, and I made this pizza. And of course, they captured that.
People love the unedited. People love the behind the scenes, and that's what makes you so accessible. Oh, that's great. What do your children think about it? Can they even believe? I mean, I know they think dad's wonderful, but can they even believe that now the world thinks their dad is wonderful?
Yeah, it's been kind of a unifying thing. It's some of our family has been really not engaged, have become engaged, and it's become 2 of my daughters work someplace, and they have work friends, and all of them turn on their phones and go to YouTube and hit the play all. They watch their telephones, and any computer that's available is watching Grandpa reads the comics all day long to get watch time and viewership. That's not, I wouldn't encourage people to do that, but they do.
Wow, how supportive. That's incredible. My goodness. You have some diehard fans. That's what I'm learning from this. It sounds like you have people that just can't get enough every day. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Grandpa, are there any other grandpas out there that are doing stuff like you're doing, or other people that do this kind of thing where they read comics? I mean, are you hearing from people from the comic community? Have you heard from some of the comic, the people who write the comics and stuff like that?
Well, I heard from a company that Paper Cuts, which does Smurfs. I did a video with them, and had a problem with YouTube because I said it wasn't made for children, and then they reviewed it and said it was made for children. So what that meant was that they had a contest that people were supposed to respond in the comment section that they're interested in the free drawing, but because it was declared suitable for children, the comment section got taken down. So we haven't figured out how to work around that yet. But the lady, my contact there, said that people in her circle, not necessarily people in her own employment, but friends that do what they do, said they were interested in having me do, voiceovers or read something for somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're going to be at Comic-Con in New York in October, and there's going to be a panel discussion, a panel assembled of people, creators, illustrators of comics, and they're nominating me to be on the panel discussion to talk, because I bring a different perspective to comics than an author or an illustrator. I bring a different perspective.
Yeah, you're the reader.
An older perspective.
Yeah.
Right. But what an opportunity that you are on your way. This is absolutely incredible. Have you had any contact with the creator of Pickles, your favorite comic strip? Does he know that you love it so much?
Because I can post his comics, and not be in trouble, but some of his things I'm just doing, one man, like the grandson comes in one day and says, "Grandpa, who's the boss, you or Grandma?" See, this is a Pickles original, but I made it my own, kind of.
Okay.
So you know how that joke goes? So
I don't know the punchline.
So Grandpa says, "Well, I am the king of the castle. I am the head of the house. So technically, I am the boss. But don't tell Grandma."
Oh my goodness.
That's great. So looks like you'll be going to the Comic-Con in New York this fall. What a fantastic opportunity that's going to be for you. That's exciting. And I'm sure there will be people there that will recognize you. It's always fun to go to the fan events. It's always great when the fans greet you, and it's a different vibe. It's a different vibe when you're dealing with the fans, and that's
yeah.
really
I've never been to something like that.
That is so cool, and you'll be able to meet all these celebrities in that field, and that's going to be really exciting. So keep us posted on that. That sounds like a really cool adventure you're about to embark on. This is quite an adventure altogether. This is an amazing story. It's funny too, because I was talking to you off camera how I was like, your son Dylan is a fan of my channel, and he made a friend request to me, and I'm scrolling through his history, and there he is holding the YouTube plaque, and I'm like, wait a second, I've heard of this guy. I had heard about you before. I'd even and then to find out that you were a Latter-day Saint, a church member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, And Dylan, and I reached out to Dylan, and he said, oh, he'd love to come on. And I thought, this is really great, because I like to talk to everybody, all the different perspectives. And I do want to ask you, you've alluded to your faith, and I just want to ask you, what role has your faith played in your life, and how much does it mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. It's my foundation. I learned from going to church the importance of loving one another and being kind and sharing, all those kinds of things. And that concept is reinforced in the family that I came from. And then when I got old enough to go to Scouts, the Scout motto, be prepared, and the Scout oath is I want to do my best to help to serve God and serve my country, my church, and help other people at all times. And then the Scout law is, a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent, and number 13, hungry.
Amen to that.
Yeah, so that's been my culture. That's what. And then missionary service was good. And then going to BYU, finding someone to share your life with. And then, when my wife was killed in a car accident in her service, and, a lot of people said, did you feel like God had let you down or something like that? But it made me more conscious that there was a plan, and I'm in the plan, and things are happening, and God is in charge, and I trust Him. I believe that He directed me to go in the social dance class. I believe that was divinely orchestrated, and that when we left BYU, we came to Syracuse, and when my wife was killed, I was divinely guided to marry, my Liz, and I just feel that. You remember the story of Joseph? The Joseph, the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Joseph was he went through some miraculous things, but the Lord was with him. He was with him when he was in the pit while his brothers were negotiating a deal for him, and then the Lord was with him in the palace. Potiphar's wife tempted him. The Lord was with him when he was interpreting the dreams. The Lord was with him when his brothers came there to get, food because they were in a famine. The Lord was with Joseph in every one of those things. And when it looked like he could have abandoned him, but he didn't. My life hasn't been as dramatic as Joseph, but there have been things along the way where I can see the Lord's hand, directing me.
So I did, Rebecca, I want you to do a follow-up question too, but I just wanted to ask, one question that came to my mind is, what would you say is your favorite episode that you've done on your show?
Oh, an unexpected when we went to the there's a regional museum in Syracuse, and they have a cow in there. And we went up there because our followers say, we want to know about, what did you do when you were growing up? I've said that I milked cows. So they have a cow in the museum, and we had our camera in there, and I was talking about what I did, and I touched the udder on the cow, and the cow went moo. So I thought, okay, whenever I touch the cow, I can get the cow to moo whenever I want it to. We ran out of space on my camera, so I had to delete some things, and so we started doing it again. The second time we started doing it, the cow just started mooing whenever it wanted to. It was nothing related to anything we were doing, but we did that, and the thought for the day was, you might need a preacher once or twice in your life. You might need an attorney once or twice in your life. You might need an undertaker once or twice in your life, but you need a farmer every day of your life. And we sent that out, and some people said, man, I've never seen a real cow before this. I mean, they thought that it was a real cow, that it was in the museum, So people's perception of what we in the United States, we have so many things that other people don't have, but that became my favorite one because of the unpredictability of what the cow was going to do. But it's got it had udder, and you're able to make liquid come into a milk bucket.
So is it like an animatronic cow, or was this an actual
a robot cow?
Yeah, the cow doesn't move, but there is a functioning, okay, reservoir where they can put the water or whatever they put in there.
Got it.
That's so great. that was an unpredicted.
Got it. All right. Yeah. Well, Rebecca, do you have any more questions for Craig?
Oh, I think I'd be curious to know if you can give us any kind of preview of anything that's coming up. Do you have anything fun or exciting that you have planned that you're looking forward to as far as content, what you're putting out? Anything you can kind of tease us with?
Well, I've been contacted by one of the local television stations to do a video or something with them. And so I'm looking forward to that. And
that's great.
I'm looking for opportunities to collaborate with other people, so the Cole Catano interview, I'm looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to finding interesting people to bring onto my channel, kind of like you guys do.
Mm-hmm. So you want to do like an interview, do interviews sometimes? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So when we went over 100,000, Cole was on his phone. I was on my phone, and he had the YouTube
counter or
counter, and it went over 100,000, and so we were all on the camera together, and I said something like, if I had a Mount Rushmore for people who have influenced my life in a positive way, Cole, you would be on my Mount Rushmore. So I had this idea that, people have Mount Rushmore people in their lives, and I thought, if you could get somebody like Oprah Winfrey to come on your channel, and you could say, who's on your Mount Rushmore? Probably not going to get Oprah Winfrey, but
I don't know.
But it'd be interesting to find people that are famous or semi-famous and ask them who's influenced your life, or who would be on your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I like that. That's really interesting. So Grandpa Reads the Comics might also kind of be like an interview podcast down the road. So that's a great. Awesome. I love it. I love, yeah. This is the thing. Just have fun. As long as you're having fun, Just keep on doing this, man. That's what, if it becomes a job, then walk away. But I don't think it's going to become a job for you. I think you've got yourself a wonderful thing happening here.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks so much.
Well, Rebecca, what'd you think? This was a very interesting guest.
This is a very interesting guest. And I would wonder, Steve, if maybe we could have Craig back on after he goes to New York. Wouldn't that be interesting to have a follow-up episode in several months and find out how it went and talk to you about that? I'd love to hear about that. That just sounds like an adventure.
Or, just if that doesn't work out, I think that I'm going to get a play button for having 1 million subscribers.
Yep.
And
that'll happen.
Yeah, a milestone. Yep.
You could be one of my first interviews if you wanted.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, we'll definitely. Yeah, we want to talk to you some more. You're on our list. Great. This is wonderful.
Well, folks, I just want to thank you, Craig. First of all, thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thanks for having me. I hope that people enjoy this and become our followers, and hope we can inspire them like we think we've inspired others. And we're just thankful that you've given us this opportunity.
Absolutely, homie. That's awesome. Rebecca Biblioteca, thank you so much for co-hosting today.
Oh, you're so welcome. This has been an absolute joy of an interview, I have to say. And I have to say, not to be a cliche, but I needed this today. Honestly, I did. So you've done it again, Grandpa.
So what's your takeaway, Rebecca?
Of the whole thing? Well, my takeaway is that in a busy, crazy world where everybody's disconnected and there's so much media and electronics, things like what you're doing, things that you express, words that you say, things that you show people, those are lost. And that's why there's that attraction. And you probably think, oh, I'm just being me, I'm doing nothing. But you are. It's very different from what a lot of people are able to experience. And I think it calms people. I think it gives them a very positive feeling, and you walk away from it just feeling really refreshed and rejuvenated and happy. I feel that right now, don't you, Steve? Having just spent an hour talking to Grandpa. So it's wonderful.
Ditto all of that. I agree. Absolutely. Okay, well, this was a great episode. And folks, I want to hear from you. So I want your comments to let us know what you thought about Grandpa Reads the Comics and how much you think the channel means to you. I want you to go and check it out and watch some of his videos. And if you're just looking to you run this crazy world we live in, sometimes we just need Grandpa reading the comics just to get us centered. And that's really the most important thing. And I just want to remind all of those of you, don't forget our merch store, MormonBookReviews.com. We got hot chocolate mugs, not coffee mugs, hot chocolate mugs. We've got t-shirts, we've got hats, we got everything, folks. So check out our website, MormonBookReviews.com. Also, for those of you who'd like to financially support the channel, I have links in the description for both Patreon as well as PayPal links. I do want to thank everybody who is financially contributing to the program. I also want to remind you, the most important thing is this, folks, is remember, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.